In this video, I'm going to share exactly how I made $80,000 as a web designer in my free time as a beginner. And no, it wasn't through tons of cold calling or DMing strangers. It was all through Upwork. Most people think of Upwork as a race to the bottom, but I was getting $4,000, $6,000, $7,000 projects on a regular basis. So I'm going to give you the exact framework that I use to land high-paying clients on Upwork without having to compromise your prices. Are you ready? Let's go. When you first create an Upwork account and see all the jobs that you can bid on, it kind of feels like a dream come true. So what do most freelancers do? They start applying for absolutely everything. But here's the problem with that. On Upwork, proposals cost connects. You only get a small batch of these for free every single month. And when they're gone, you're either stuck waiting or paying to buy more. So if you just spray and pray, apply to everything and hope that something pans out, you're gonna burn through that budget really fast without anything to show for it. And then once you're out, you can't pitch that perfect project when it actually comes along. But I want you to shift that mindset. You're gonna use a sniper rifle rather than a shotgun. Your goal is to filter down the possibilities from a few thousand to maybe 4 or 5 really good projects. And how do you do that? It's all in the filter settings. But it's not super obvious where you find those filters when you're first looking at your Upwork dashboard. So let me show you how to get to them. First, we're just gonna search for anything. We'll say web designer. And then this is where our filter options show up, and it's where the money is at. But you've gotta approach this realistically. Pick a realistic experience level, especially if you're newer. Don't go for the expert jobs. Stick to entry level, maybe intermediate. And then on budget range, pick something that makes sense. If you're new, stick to $1,000 jobs or below. And in your hourly rate, don't ever go above $30. Even if you're an expert, a client is way more likely to trust you with a smaller project than they are with a full website rebuild. Now let me pull back the curtain from the client side for a second, because this can make a huge difference. When I recently posted a job on Upwork, it asked if I wanted help writing the description with AI. So I tried it, and the draft that it gave me sounded almost exactly like a ton of jobs that I've seen posted on the platform. So if you're reading a post and it feels like it could have been written by a robot, that's usually something that I call low client intent. They didn't think much about the project, and in all likelihood, they're gonna forget about it and never actually hire someone. And then as a sniper, that's your cue to move on and protect your connects. Because even if they don't hire somebody on the platform, they still take your connects from you. So once you've narrowed it down to serious high intent clients, there's actually one more filter that you need as a sniper. You've got to filter out stale projects. Stale projects are ones that are either abandoned or you have very little chance of actually getting a reply from a client, even if you're the perfect person. Let me show you how to get those kind of projects out of your feed. First, you really don't want to look at any project that has more than 15 bids. Under 10 is better, and then less than 5 is amazing. Then if you click on the project and look down just a little bit to this section, activity on this job, you're gonna see a few stats that are really helpful in knowing whether this is stale and worth your bid. First, if you see hires on this with like a 1 or a 2 next to it, that means the client has hired somebody. They don't just automatically take a project down once a client hires a freelancer. You have to actually go back in and manually close the project. Next, look for how many people the client is interviewing. If there's like 20 folks on there, the likelihood of you popping up and being appealing to that client is pretty low. Now, this last one, invite sent, can kind of give you a hint. If they've sent invites out to like 50 freelancers, that might be a clue that this isn't worth bidding on. But I will say, Upwork kind of naturally pushes clients into inviting a lot of freelancers. So just because they do it doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna find somebody from those invites that actually work for them. But hold on, because just because a project has only a few proposals or maybe a limited number of insight, it still doesn't mean that that project isn't stale. You gotta make sure that the client hasn't completely moved on. How do we do that? Well, the first clue is at the top of the post where it says how long ago the project was posted. If it was 2 weeks ago, stay away. If it was a week ago, maybe, but still probably not. What we want is a post that's only a few days, even better, a few hours old. And this is actually kind of easy to filter through. Upwork doesn't automatically send you the freshest job posts on your search results. You have to go over, instead of saying best matches, we want most recent. This will put the most recent projects that have been posted on the platform up at the very top. Like you can see right here, this one was posted just 18 minutes ago, super fresh. There's still one more clue that's gonna let us know if this project is worth our bid, but we've gotta dig in and do a little bit more detective work. So let's go down to this bottom job right here. And then if we scroll down to job activity again, you're gonna see a new stat, and that's this one right here, last viewed by client. If this number is days or even weeks old, that means that the client lost interest and they've moved on. I think you'd be surprised at how many people post jobs on Upwork and then just never look at it again. But if all that passes, right? It's a perfect fit, tailored just for you and the types of clients that would want to work with you. If there's high intent that they're actually looking for somebody and will hire somebody on the Upwork platform, and if it's not stale, that's the kind of project that you want to bid on, because those projects are much more likely to get you a response from a client. Now, you'd think that once you found that diamond in the rough, it's just smooth sailing from there. Like you pitch and they'll just automatically say yes. But here's the truth. Finding the right post is only half the battle. There's one golden rule that most freelancers ignore, and it's the difference between getting ignored or getting noticed. Study after study has shown that people who respond faster to clients are much more likely to land the project. If you respond within 5 minutes, you're actually 21% more likely to get that project than if you wait just 30 minutes. If you reach out in the first minute, you're actually 391% more likely to get a response. That's crazy, right? So there's a bit of a balance here. You don't want to bid on any project that comes up, but when that right project comes along, you want to be fast. So how do you make that happen? Well, first, save the searches that you've got dialed in. If you've got a few that give you good results, go to the top of the feed, click save, and then give it a name that you'll recognize. That way, you can pull it up quick without having to enter all the search parameters in by hand. But oftentimes, good projects will come along, but you're not around your computer. You don't have to drop everything and fire up your desktop. But there is something that you always carry with you, and you're probably picking up multiple times a day. It's your phone. You knew that I was talking about that, right? Not a big mystery reveal. Get the Upwork app on your phone. Check it throughout the day, during breaks, on your commute, maybe during lunch. And if you're commuting on a Vespa, don't check your phone. That sounds very, very dangerous. But every time you would have picked up your phone to check whatever, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, replace that whatever with Upwork. When you're in job search mode, you gotta be focused, almost a little obsessed. Your goal is to submit a targeted proposal within 2 to 5 minutes of it being posted. So let's talk about what to actually put in your proposal. How I pitch to clients changed drastically after I posted a job on Upwork myself. In fact, understanding the whole user journey of a client is gonna make a huge difference in how you approach every pitch that you make. Like, look at this proposal page. You got a list of pitches right here. Then over on the right-hand side, this little bitty preview is the only thing that a client sees from your cover letter. That's actually just like 43 words. So if these words don't resonate with a client quickly, you're not gonna get a second look. So something like, "Hi, my name is Chris. I have 5 years of experience," yada, 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 isn't gonna do much convincing because that's all they're going to see. Instead of doing something like this, try something else like this. Taking outdated sites and adding life to them is my specialty. A website isn't doing its job unless it's helping your business grow. That's what I focus on. I do that by getting to understand as much about your brand and customers as I can. So there's a few things that I'm doing here, and let's talk about them one by one. First, I'm showing them that I actually read the job description. You'd be surprised how many freelancers just copy and paste without reading a single thing about what they're actually pitching for. So I take something that they mentioned in the job post and I kind of put that in my first sentence. Then I try to hit on the underlying desire behind what the client is actually asking for in the description. And why is that? Every purchase that someone makes has a deeper motivation than just the thing that they're buying. Like, no one buys a hammer just because they love hammers. They're trying to accomplish something with it, like a picture on the wall. Your job is to try and spot what that real goal is in the job post and then speak to it directly in that second sentence. How do you do that? Well, you look for clues inside the job post. Like, look at this one. The things that stick out to me are the fact that they're saying they want a modern look and they're emphasizing that they want to collaborate with their freelancer. So saying they want a modern site means that they feel like their current site is outdated and they might be a little bit embarrassed about it. Then emphasizing collaboration means that they're afraid that you're just going to go off the rails and not take any of their feedback. So what I would do with this is I would take those components and I'd put them in the very second sentence of our proposal. Now you'd think that'd be it for our first 43 words. You have to say how you're going to accomplish the things that you're saying you're going to do for them. But instead of using jargon that only people in your industry would understand, try to make it in such a way that the client would know what you're talking about. So for instance, instead of saying brand and user research, I said brand and customers, right? So I'm talking in a language that they kind of understand. If you're a web developer, instead of saying PHP, WordPress, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you would say WordPress websites with custom development. If you focus on those first 43 words, roughly 290 characters, you're gonna get a lot more open proposals. But that doesn't mean you're done with your pitch yet. You can and probably should talk a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what your process is, and then add examples of your work. This doesn't have to be long. You just want to cover the important stuff and then get out of there. And the piece de resistance that so many freelancers completely leave out is the very last component. Just like you wouldn't leave a website without some kind of call to action, you don't want to leave your proposal without telling the client what the next step is. So tell them what to do if they want to respond to you. Is it simply to reply to your proposal? Maybe better yet, you give them a calendar link through something like Calendly where they can just automatically sign up for a time to talk with you. Now, if you don't have Calendly, Upwork actually has a scheduling component right in the messages. If you followed all of these principles, if you focus on the first 43 words, if you talk a little bit about who you are and then give them a call to action, your proposals are going to dramatically stand out from everyone else. But that alone won't determine whether a client starts to interview you. Think about it from the client perspective. They're going to see your proposal, maybe read your pitch, get a little bit interested, and then they're gonna click on your profile. And if that profile isn't up to par, it might not matter how good your proposal was. So let me give you an exact framework to dial in your proposal to win more clients. Your profile needs to do one thing really well, but most freelancers completely miss it. They actually just list every tool that they've touched. I can do JavaScript, funnels, Tailwind, on-page SEO. Like it's all one big skill vomit. And when I'm on the client side of things and I'm scrolling through profiles, when I see something like this, I lose interest quickly because I'm not shopping for a tech stack. I'm shopping for a result. And there's a good chance that your clients don't care one bit about your toolbox. They care about how you are going to help them accomplish their goals. So just like we spoke to that in our pitch, we're going to do it again in our profile. And the first place that you want to do that is in your headline. So instead of saying web designer, you would say conversion focused web designer. This is more about what the client is looking for and less about the underlying skills. So run every line of text on your profile through that test. And if it doesn't speak to what's really driving a client behind the scenes, go back to the drawing board. Most freelancers look like they're trying to convince you that they're some kind of freelancing superhero. Like this as an example. I don't just build websites. I save your business. I take messy ideas. I've worked with business owners. Keep the language focused on them. If your bio has more me, my's, and I's than it does you and yours, you need to go back and rework it. After that, fill out absolutely everything on your profile. If you don't have a portfolio yet, that's totally fine, but you still don't want to leave this empty. Use anything, right? Anything that you've done that involves design or development or whatever you're freelancing for. When I first got started, I used slides that I designed for my church and a really simple HTML website that I'd made for my band. It doesn't have to be client work. It just needs to show that you can actually build something. Now, once you got all this dialed in, you got a sniper-like filter, you got client-specific pitches and a client-first profile, you're gonna start seeing a lot more client replies and eventually a lot more hires. matters. But there's something that I want you to hear because a lot of people don't realize this. Eventually, Upwork turns into kind of a momentum machine when you're actually doing very little work to get new projects. Once you got a few under your belt with some great reviews, clients actually start reaching out to you. You're not searching for projects anymore. After about a year on the platform, I didn't submit a single proposal to anyone who hadn't reached out to me first. In fact, I had to turn off my availability because the requests got overwhelming. But something has to be true if you want that to start working for you. You've got to get really good feedback, both public and private, on every single client that you're working with. Once you do that, you get a job success score. And this little baby right here is gonna get you a lot of work. So do your absolute darndest to go above and beyond with every project, and don't take or accept projects that look iffy. If you aren't 100% sure that you can deliver, just pause before saying yes and be upfront with the client about what you can and can't do. Because once you accept a project, that client can leave you feedback. And if you have to abandon it midway through or can't deliver what you promised, that tanks your score. So protect that at all costs. Now listen, I love Upwork. It played such a huge part in me becoming a web designer and going on to eventually change careers. But you don't want to rely on just one platform to be your only source of income. What happens if Upwork shifts their philosophies or something happens to your account? You need multiple ways to bring in clients so you're never at the mercy of a single platform. That's why I put together a video where I walk you through 14 different ways that you can find web design clients. So be sure to watch that next. And don't forget, if you don't quit, you win.